Aloha, everyone coming in, the lurkers, and everyone watching back. This is Jonathan, and my special guest today is Maui, MoonFox Magic, and she's just starting her YouTube channel. So I'm excited to see what you produce and like moments. I've seen a few videos of yours from TikTok. And Aloha Maruta. So Madame Maru, House of Cards just popped in. And then there's Saskia, Aloha Saskia. So as people start pouring in, I know that in one of the TikToks I saw you started doing tarot readings when you were in 4th grade. Is that right?
Yeah. So I'm originally from upstate New York, and there is a psychic community in upstate New York called Lilydale. And so I have had aunts and other relatives who would go to Lilydale every summer and talk to psychics. And I just always thought it was something that was really, really interesting, especially as like a little kid. But I think I've just always been super, super empathic. So it was just kind of like a natural path for me. But my great aunt gifted me a tarot deck that she got from Lilydale, and I would just kind of like play around with it. And then that summer for my birthday, my mom got me a deck, and then I've gotten a million decks since. But I really started kind of reading cards and doing readings for people in 4th grade. And it's kind of interesting to look back because when you're that young, especially back in the early 90s. I don't know. I had family members kind of tease me. And like, I remember I had a cousin, she asked me to do a reading for her if she was ever going to have another kid. And I didn't know. She actually had her tubes tied. It was like impossible. But my reading just kept saying like it was never going to happen. And like she was really just trying to get me to say that she was, I think, just so she could tease me. But yeah, I don't know. It kind of just started in 4th grade, and yeah, just building.
So I gotta know, what was that first deck?
The first day?
First deck.
Oh, my first deck. Oh, I actually have it in the other room. I should have pulled it out. It is the crappiest little deck. It literally, I mean, it looks like it's something from like the dollar store. Like there's no thought in it. And there's, like the crappy little descriptions on the cards that really like don't tell you what anything means. So I was like that little kid literally just like reading things, but like, and I didn't know what any of the meanings were, but like I remember doing a reading for my older sister. So what was I, like 8 years old, and maybe she was like 10 years old. And like she pulled the death card, and the only thing I said, I was like, someone's gonna die around you. And then her neighbor died.
Oh no.
But the death card doesn't actually mean literal death. So it's just kind of, it's funny to see how I progressed from like a reading like that to, now, I mean, using the cards is an option, but I don't always have to do readings with cards now, which is kind of really nice. Depending how like meditated out you are, it really makes a big difference on just trusting your intuition,
Mm-hmm. So other than cards, what other divination systems do you like playing with?
I mean, I do a little bit of everything. I like doing like spells. I'm really big on burning bay leaves, especially on the new moon and the full moon. I remember like the last like new moon, I like took a photo for, I think I got up to like 25 friends where I burnt a bay leaf for them. And I was like, Molly, you can't like, you can't be doing this for everyone, But I don't know. I really like burning bay leaves and, just kind of, just like reading energy in general, like I'm definitely a white witch. I'm not, someone who's like into dark entities or anything, but I'm always down for like a good seance. Like I got the Hasbro Ouija board. I haven't pulled that out in a little bit, but I mean, that stuff's always like fun, but the older you get, the more that you need to burn a candle, you need to do an opening meditation, a closing meditation, tell any spirit you let into a room, like, time to get out.
Right. Time for us to get we've had our fun. Bye-bye now.
Yeah. And then also I've been getting into reading auras recently. And so that's a little bit kind of, I don't know, just fun and interesting. I mostly practice on plants. They're just a little bit easier to read right now than people, but I don't know, just exciting. It's like learning to tie your shoes. Once you learn how to tie your shoes, you can learn to run and walk. And once you learn to run and walk, you can learn to play soccer and you can learn to play different sports. And then all of a sudden you can learn to swim. That's really what like developing like your intuition really is at the end of the day.
Right, exactly. Yeah. I've had readings where the person that I'm reading for is a psychic themselves. They take one look at me, they're like, you don't need these cards. I'm like, well, I know, but it's for the other person really that I have the cards.
Yeah.
So,
And also just cards are always a good way to channel things. You know,
right.
if especially a lot of it is like meditation and being in tune with your higher self and being in tune with your own energy, but also like understanding the energy around you too. And to have like that deck to project that energy onto, it's sometimes it's just easier than opening your energy to reading everything else around you.
Right,
You know?
right.
And then
Or
at
just
least
opening to any message and then you just get bombarded with all kinds of stuff.
yeah, because you know, sometimes I think people also just like push themselves too hard. Like there's nothing wrong with having something that makes you, you know, feel good and just be able to hone your energy in. It's like the same thing as like holding a crystal at the end of the day. That's really what tarot cards are.
I didn't. Let's see. Hershey came into you. Hi, Hershey. Hershey's a nice
111, 111.
111. It.
At
No,
least in
it's 1011 here.
I can share my 111 with everyone though.
I love that though. Jane says spirits come in when I'm out walking. If I have a client later in the day, they give me songs. Oh, that's cool. I like that.
That is really cool. It's anything meditative, you know, running, walking, swimming, anything where you can zone out. That's the moment where I think spirit has the best chance of actually getting a hold of you and being able to talk to you. It's really cool.
That's one of the reasons why I love dance for myself. It's like, I feel like dance is very meditative. So I'll throw on some music and dance until the message comes through sometimes.
Honestly,
especially if I'm feeling stuck, just to get the energy flowing again.
Because sad people can't dance, you know? Once you start dancing, you start releasing that energy and just moving whatever it is through your body, and you just feel so freeing. And I've just recently noticed that when people are upset, they forget to, you know, just shake your body loose and like let go of that excess energy. It's so, so important.
There's actually a movement in Qigong called Trembling Horse that is specifically to like just shed all that energy. And it's really interesting because it's like, so you stand, your feet are hip width apart, go up on the balls of your feet, and then just kind of like bounce your heels down. And it's like your whole body is shaking while you're doing it. And it's amazing how it just kind of like clears energy out so quickly.
Very cool.
Oh, more people coming in. Aloha, Beth. The space is rising. And hello, dear Patrice. Aloha. We've got quite a few people popping in here. So for those of you who don't know, Molly MoonFox Magic is new to the Tarot Tube. So if you would please go subscribe to her channel. I know you don't really have any videos on YouTube yet, but you have quite a channel over on TikTok. Is that right?
Yeah, I have a good following on TikTok and a nice little community there. It's been really fun. I have ideas on what videos I need to make for my YouTube channel. And I was going to start off with a series called The Moments I Found Out I Was Psychic.
I love that.
And it's all those awkward moments, especially in my younger years, where, I don't know, my family, like, I'm a big skeptic with a lot of people, but I'm the only one currently that's outwardly psychic and super in tune in my family. And so it's just like those moments where your mom like thought you were just being weird about something and then you were right. And it's just, you know, there's so many moments where all of a sudden my mom is like, she just knew. And it's like, Mom, now is not the time. We don't do that right now. Let's get through this moment first.
That's funny.
Yeah. So I've been thinking about starting that with my YouTube channel. Just moments, because the stories are always just fun and funny, and other empaths, other healers, they have similar experiences where they start to realize they're empathic or they're a healer. I mean, you've been through this at some point where you feel like when you start realizing you can feel other people's energy, and it's just an experience that we all kind of go through, and we gotta acknowledge the comedy in it, because otherwise it's just like those awkward moments where we were just like, oh no, not now.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And the funny thing for me is my mom always encouraged it, but now that she's older and I'm actually like pursuing a professional career in it, she's like, that's so screwy. I'm like, you're the one that encouraged me to do this in the first place. Like, what?
My birthday was on the 8/8 portal.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah, so which is really cool, and I don't know, I really felt it this year. I really, really felt it. And I was also born in the 80s, but I didn't have the 8/8/88. But I know a kid who has 8/8/88, and that kid's just got like a horseshoe up his butt. Like all the good things just come his way with like very little effort. Like I've never seen anyone who can manifest as well as he can, and so quickly. Like he was walking down the street, and he's definitely empathic, but I don't know how much he really like plays into it. He was walking down the street in Hollywood, and they asked him to come be a seat filler, and they told him they would give him like a $15 gift card if he would just be a seat filler on this TV show. And he was like, okay, sure, I'll take the $15. I got nothing else going on. And it was The Price is Right, and he got randomly picked to go on, and he won a brand new car just spinning the wheel. Like, there's something to be said about like angel numbers and having birthdays on like the portals, like 99, 10, 10, 8, 8, 7, 7, but it's also an 8, 8, 8 year, like 2024 was 8. So it was such a magical day. And like when I was meditating all day long, all I saw was like lion and like fire. And like I really felt like my like Leo self, which is just kind of cool. And I've never experienced like a meditation like that before, where it's just like all you're seeing is like your zodiac sign and like feeling like the fire. And like my skin felt like it was just like hot all day, because I think that's just like Leo is the sunshine. But yeah, I don't know. So I think this is going to be, and like I'm really excited.
For me, 8/8 is going to be kind of a difficult day, I think, from now on.
What day?
8/8.
Going forward, or just
because that's the anniversary of Lahaina burning. And then this year on 8/8, during the first year anniversary, we had someone leaving bombs like outside of schools, and one went off on 8/8. Some poor woman driving by, at least she was only mildly injured, but like it went off next to her car. Her window was blown in, like her driver's side of the car was pelted with shrapnel and like got all kinds of holes in it. So yeah, 8/8 is going to be kind of like a high tension day for me until I can clear that kind of energy out, because it's like first there's the fire, and then a year later there's a bomb going off that day. So it's just like, what is going on with that energy here? Lots of fire for sure.
So in the energy readings that I've been doing, because that's what I normally do on TikTok, is I do a reading for the collective energy at the moment. And it's been super interesting because I feel like, you know, everyone's energy is different. We all carry different energy. We're all different entities. We're all going through our own thing. But there's always other people who are radiating in the same energy that we're radiating in. And so certain collectives right now, especially the collective that I'm reading for, what I've been reading is a lot of people are waiting for a lot of things. But the way that the energy has been moving, especially this entire year, because we just finished up 2023, which was a year of sevens, and that's a year of spiritual growth. And so a lot of people were having really big spiritual awakenings, and the entire world is going in this really big shift. And we're moving almost from fear-based love to actual like love-based energy. And so as we're making this progress, you know, like over, like, since I just say COVID has been going on since 2020. So I just say COVID time, and I call the other time like the before times. So the before time.
So many people say the before time.
It just like, you know, And so the before times, you know, we were just all drinking the Kool-Aid, we were all doing all of this, and then COVID hit, and it made you really start questioning the energy you were around. And people didn't even realize that a lot of it was like the energy, because, you know, people started just feeling, you know, people started living in scarcity more. People started moving into fear. And we had this really big shift. Whereas I think before we really hit like that big fear base in 2020, it just took over. And so we've been having this weird mix of energies. And so over this past year, I think a lot of people have been being pushed into a spiritual awakening since COVID had started, just because the fear-based energy, it starts making you question your entire existence. And so the 7/7 portal last month, there was like this really big shift in energy where it was just like, okay, either you started waking up and you started realizing what was happening. And sometimes you don't even realize what's happening. You just start vibrating differently, and you just start feeling uncomfortable in the life that you're living because you're no longer vibrating on that level. Like that feels uncomfortable. You're being pushed to grow. And what is a spiritual awakening? I like a lot of my videos, I talk about cry runs. I run and I cry. And sometimes I walk and I cry, but I'll still say it's a cry run, and like give myself credit for that little bit of run I did in there. But you know, it's processing emotion. It's sitting in the uncomfortable. It's sitting in the suck. It's sitting in all the things that like we don't want to sit in. But that's how we learn about ourselves. That's how we start questioning who we are as a person. That's how we start, oh, like, does this feel good to me? Does this not feel good to me? Do I like to be around that person? Do I not like to be around that person? Is this serving me? Is this not serving me? And that's where you have your biggest moment of growth, is when you start being your own best friend and you start realizing it. So this collective of all this negative things happening. So my birthday was on the Lionsgate portal. The Lionsgate portal was a big energy release day. But what's happening right now is the world is starting to expose the people who are living in their ego and toxic ego. And it's not even necessarily toxic masculinity, it's toxic femininity. It's just toxic energy for humans in general. Yeah, it doesn't matter who you are, they, them, whatever. And so it's just like we're moving.
You're toxic.
So it's almost like I personally feel we're being pulled to realize like we all need to come together as a collective. That ego is keeping us separate. That ego is like, I have to do this all on my own. But even, you know, you reaching out to me to do this live, this is collaboration. Like you grow, I grow, we grow together, you know, like we see if our energies align, because if we can vibrate on a similar frequency, the people following you probably will vibrate on a similar frequency to me, vice versa. And then we also bring together the collective of the energy already vibrating with us, you know, like you win by coming together. So even though it seems like such a tragedy and such a negativity, and 8/8 was really hard for you, especially on your island, in your hometown, all the energy around you. But a lot of that stuff that's happening, it's actually to push us to understand empathy between each other. It's not to make us afraid of what's going to happen next. It's so we can come together as a collective and really figure out a solution to make things a little bit better. And I'm
seeing that collective thing happened a year ago after the fires. Like it was amazing seeing the Maui community come together. Like the police weren't letting people go on the road. So what happened? Everyone piled everything on boats and took it that way, just so the community could help support community. And like it was unreal. The entire island came together. It was like I get chicken skin just talking about it.
Yeah, so, I can feel the chills. And even I have a really good friend who is originally from Hawaii, and one of her best friends perished in that fire. And even just her processing it, you know, I was just like, anything you want to tell me about them, you know, tell me like your favorite memory of them, you know, let's talk about this, let's process it, let's share these feelings. Because you know, when you're stuck in your head, she's thinking, oh, she doesn't live in Hawaii anymore. No one here is going to understand what she's going through. But no, when you're going through those emotions, that's the moment like where people like connect. That's where we come together, because what do we have in common? What we have in common isn't necessarily our day job or like our hobbies. What we have in common is we all have emotions, and we all experience those emotions. And just finding people who are intellectually intelligent enough to understand the emotions that you're feeling, and also the emotions that the other person is feeling, because you felt them before. That's what makes us human. That's what's supposed to bring us together. Instead of, having these people who are just like mean and trying to boss people around. Like, that's no way to live. That's why everyone is like going through it right now. It's because how many people was the bully mean to before someone finally spoke up and like said, absolutely not. Like, you were mean to like, if all of the people that the bully was mean to came together, like, you have more people there than the bully. Like,
right.
Like, things are out of whack right now, and I'm waiting to see what happens, especially in Libra season, just because I feel like that's when the karmic scale is really going to start tipping. But for the collective of energy that I've been reading, it's like a slow build till the end of the year. If you've actually dealt with your ego, if you've actually been learning, thinking about just like processing childhood memories, thinking about things, and you're open to like just that expansion of love, the universe is going to reward you. But you have to be open to it for the right reasons. And like authenticity is like very important in this moment. I mean, it should have been important in every moment before now, because then it wouldn't be this hard right now, but it's important right now.
Oh, we do have a question from Adam here. Sorry for missing that, Adam. How do you get yourself out of ruts as a spiritually tuned person? Is it harder, do you think?
I think it's harder in the sense of if you're empathic and you're feeling other people's emotions around you, sometimes you feel like you're in a rut because you're picking up on all the people around you in ruts. And that's a lot of energy to carry. So in that
I'm on
case,
an island full of people with PTSD. Like,
yeah,
and I'm really empathic. So I've been like staying at home way too much.
yeah. And it's funny is too, yesterday my reading was like, we want a hermit. Everyone's feeling like they want a hermit, but now is not the time to hermit.
I do. I wanted to bail in my shell and disappear for a while.
But it's also, so to get back to his question, so that's the first thing is you have to figure out, are you tuning into the energy around you, or are you tuning into the energy of yourself? And once you figure that out, then the solution is going to be much easier, because if it's other people, you just got to meditate out and pull that energy back to yourself. And then I personally like making little like jokes about things like, oh, let like Timmy figure out his own crap, like, ha ha ha.
Right.
Like, he can dump on me again, like kind of like bring back joy and realize you don't have to take on the energy of other people. But when you're in a rut yourself, I mean, the only thing you can do is sit with the suck. Sit in your feelings, just like allow yourself to feel it. It's if you distract yourself too much. Yeah, I think society teaches us escapism is the way. And so escapism, it could be hanging around your friends, it can be indulging, eating. I mean, who doesn't also love to do that? Like, but like that's escapism, like really the only way to get through the rut is actually just to feel it, and it sucks. And like, you got to cry, and you have to just let that emotion move through you. But once you let that emotion move through you, you're going to feel so much better. And also you'll probably start vibrating a little bit higher. So the universe will also reward you for sitting in the suck and dealing with your emotions. So
I just realized I want to grab your link on my phone if I can and throw in the chat for people, because don't forget, please like and subscribe.
Thank you. That's really kind.
I'm going to hide that so you can actually see her. So MoonFox Magic is the name of the channel. And I had the link handy, but now it's no longer handy. Of course. Yes, Hershey. When you're going through hell, keep going and don't look back. Yeah, as they say, the only way through is through.
I know. And like, it sucks. It sucks for all of us. That's why we need to normalize it. When you're going through something, you're going through something.
Definitely. And I definitely was going through something last weekend. So
yeah, I promise you it's getting better. We're also just in so many retrogrades right now, and I don't know what the energy is that you carry. I don't know your zodiac signs and stuff, but we're also in
depends on if you're talking tropical or real sky.
Yeah. I notice we're moving in the Scorpio moon energy right now. And I'm a Leo double Scorpio. And I was like, the only reason I feel okay right now is because I felt the crap like the last couple of months, and this is my tiny little break in like my own energy beam. So I'm going to take it.
So many of my moderators no longer moderators. Thank you, Maruta, for trying to post the link. Let me make you a moderator again. I don't understand. So many of my moderators lost their branch. Thanks, YouTube.
Technology has been changing a lot of random things. This is Miss
Now
Millie.
won't even let me. Okay, never mind. I'll do it later, I guess, Maruta. Sorry about that.
No,
at least I got Hershey back her wrench, so I got it back, Hershey. I know you lost it, but it's there again. So you do paid readings, is that right?
I do, yeah.
Want to tell us a little bit about that, your business?
Yeah, I think I started doing like actual readings for people that were paid maybe around the time I was 19. And then I started picking up a little bit more when I was about 26. But it's like every spiritual awakening, there's kind of a jump. And then I used to live in upstate New York, and I moved to Los Angeles almost 8 years ago on the 8 year.
Wow.
8 is my number if you haven't picked up on that yet. But so I actually used to work for DreamWorks Animation. I was a graphic designer for television. And so the artists every year would get a day at work where they could sell their artwork. And so I was always the artist who actually was just doing tarot card readings in the corner. And I want to give gratitude for the people who worked at DreamWorks Animation, because first of all, being surrounded by other artistic people, they kind of understand artistic things.
Right.
But artistic people also seem to be a little bit more in the spiritual realm, just because artistic ability comes a lot from like intuition development.
Right.
And so I feel like I was just always supported. And then when the pandemic hit, I was sad because we weren't having these days, and I realized I needed to start reading more. And so I've just kind of been picking up on it more and more. And now I officially built a brand new website, that moonfoxmagic.com. But I'm starting to really move into this full time. And it's interesting because I've worked with various psychics throughout the years, especially when I lived in upstate New York. And one of my old meditation teachers, a psychic that I had been studying under, her name is Angie. Now she almost exclusively works out of Lilydale, but she, like recently we've been chatting, and she always used to tell me that I was going to use my intuition a lot and do all of this. And I didn't realize, you don't always realize you can just be a witch full time.
Right. So, I didn't know. I mean, that's why I got into acupuncture.
Yeah. And you just, there's something kind of like super exciting, just like telling people like, oh, I'm a witch full time now. And, I still do graphic design work because that's really like what my background is. But there's something to be said that like I'm working in an animation studio, like the dream of dreams, DreamWorks Animation. And I'm the girl who's not selling artwork. I'm selling tarot card readings. And like, I'm sure a lot of people don't even know what department I worked in. They just knew me as the tarot card reading girl. And so it was just, it's just kind of funny. And so even just like walking around campus, like after work, I would do readings for people as well. I did readings for people on lunch. And even just like walking around campus, like I'd make eye contact with somebody that I've done a reading for. And we would just like laugh. And like this one girl in particular, I'm like, oh, this is the month that your boyfriend's going to be really annoying, right? And she's like, he is. And like, I don't know, it just brings like joy when you're like in between work meetings, like being able to like, joke about the funny things in our lives. So yeah,
I'm sure all those people really appreciate you being there because you opened the world to them in a big way, I'm sure.
Yeah. And there's, I'm just, different people have different types of energy, and my energy is like the raising vibrations and kind of bringing people together. And so I think it just bringing people together, by allowing them to be a little bit more vulnerable, to be able to talk about like what they're going through, especially when you can feel their energy and their vibes, because even like at like whatever job you have, you're still bringing that energy in. You should be able to talk about it at work and process it, just so we're not bottling our emotions and sweeping things under the rugs. It's that the world is moving in that direction too, because, how many years ago, 10 years ago, if you try to talk about your feelings at work, what would someone say to you? it's silly, but the
You're
world's
told it's not professional to talk about personal things at work, right?
yeah, even just like my cat's in my lap right now. Like I was telling you a story before we jumped on live
Before
that
you
like
live, yeah.
someone told me they were bothered that my cat was in my lap, like on a live once. And I was just like,
What? I mean,
across
what
the
does that have
street.
anything to do with anything? I mean,
Yeah. Did a cat scratch you when you were a child? Like, let's talk about this, Let's not
what's
discriminate.
the matter? What's the trauma?
And like honestly, I mean, she's healing me more than the person on the other line. So
Right,
who's
causing you
adding my energy,
stress, right?
But
Makes
I
sense.
don't know.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Mm-hmm. With your YouTube channel, what kind of content do you see yourself making?
So I've kind of gone back and forth. I really like doing collective readings, and I could do longer collective readings. But it's just when I was thinking about really doing just being a witch full time, I think I was kind of pushed in the direction of TikTok, which is funny because when TikTok came out, I was like, I'm never getting on that platform. But there's something you said about actually not knowing anything about the platform and then realizing like what a beautiful gift it actually is, being able to connect people across, seas and like just like in different time zones, different energies, because it allows us, energy is a huge thing. So it allows us also to attract the energy we're seeking when we're not physically in a place, which is really cool. And then also, I mean, there's been so many meditation apps that have also come out with doing like group meditation and doing group meditation in various places around the world. But when that collective energy comes together, there's really like a beautiful magic in it. And so I think with YouTube, I've kind of gone back and forth because there's also just so many spiritual counselors and spiritual teachers and leaders out there where they're just repeating content over and over again. And it's, I don't want to do anything like that. Like I'm very based in the energy that I'm feeling, what's kind of coming up intuitively, just going off of my intuition. Like I trust my intuition enough where it's like right now, at least that I'm meditated out enough where I'm getting like constant streaming. But I think in a way, I think YouTube for me is just going to be a way to be able to explain who I am a little bit more. Like why I
More
am the
long
psychic I
long
am.
form, right?
How I've become the psychic I am over the years, how I read the energy that I read, and more of like an introductory of myself rather than just trying to, preach on people. And that's because then I have TikTok, or if they want to see my readings, they can go to TikTok for the collective readings. And so, and I'm not trying to get people to go on too many channels. So we'll see what happens, just because also it's confusing for us as well when we have so many channels to have to take care of,
Right. So many social media platforms to juggle.
Yeah. And it's, and like also like it's wonderful that you do interviews because it's like you're bringing in different energies. You're switching up the energy constantly. You're allowing a space for energy to really like develop as a whole. And that's a beautiful thing. Ooh.
Thank you. Definitely. It's one of the things I love about doing this.
Yeah.
So Hershey has a question here. Do you have a
Yes.
favorite
Okay.
spell or color that you work with?
So I know it's so funny. Spells, honestly, I really, really like the easiest spell. I will burn a bay leaf. I'll write my name on one side or whoever I'm burning the bay leaf for. And then on the other side, I'll write whatever it is that I'm really trying to manifest and pull in. And I think that I love this so much is because I'm a little bit of an overthinker.
Hi.
And like when you're
Welcome to Overthinkers Anonymous.
and like intuitive people, I think, are naturally overthinkers because we're just like, is this my feeling? Or is this someone else's feeling? Can I say this? Can I not say this? But I really just like burning a bay leaf and then just essentially like let go, let God, let go, let universe, whatever it is that I'm really thinking about. Like I'm really just trying to throw the energy out there into the universe. Also, I think just being a fire sign, I'm like a little bit of a pyro. I love lighting things on fire. And I'm also just really big at like, I always have 3 candles lit when I do it because the number Trinity to me just means a lot. And like the number 3 of just kind of coming together, the elements. So I always have 3 candles lit. And then sometimes I'll just like light the bay leaf. Like I try to burn it in the candles. It doesn't always work. I also live in LA. Sometimes I have to go out into like the driveway because I just want to make sure I'm not going to like do a hazard of trying to burn the apartment buildings down. But yeah, I just burn a bay leaf. And then honestly, I put the ashes in my plants because then at least it's giving nutrients to the
Oh, I love
soil.
that.
And then the plants are going to grow, and it's really just putting whatever I'm trying to manifest out into the universe a little bit more, because if you worry about it too much, you can delay it. If you worry about it too much, you can self-sabotage. So just let go and let universe. And then colors. I mean, I love colors. I do. I love colors, but I mean, I usually just buy white candles because white candles kind of, you can use it for anything. And then, I mean, yeah.
We've got another overthinker here.
I have my friend designed a banner. It says "Great minds overthink alike."
I love that. Hershey just
Thank you.
Oh, hi Viviani. And Viviani just subbed too.
Oh, beautiful name as well. Thank you.
He's a wonderful reader too. So one of the things I was going to mention when you're talking about community is one of the things I love is the people that come here in the chats. We have a hashtag for our chats, best chatters, hashtag best chatters. So,
very cool.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean, most of these people have channels. They do their own readings. Hershey, the shadow reader, is amazing, phenomenal reader. Viviani's a great reader too. She reads with Hershey sometimes. Jane's a great reader. Madame LaRue's a great reader. Yeah, pretty much. Adam, Duncan, I think this is your first time here. Is that right? Because I don't recognize the name. Patrice, she's amazing. She doesn't do much on YouTube, like not making videos and stuff, but she's amazing. She's in the chats a lot and just a great supporter.
Yeah, well, that's what it's all about, you know. Like, if you want your friend to come to your show, then you need to go to their show. It's right. My cat is pushing my laptop, but we're okay. But you know, it's about like supporting each other, and you know, the people that you support, you should be in sync with them energy wise. Like especially the spiritual community. You know, normally spiritual people don't grow up in very spiritual families. They don't. Usually a lot of spiritual people are the person born into that family that is breaking generational traumas, dealing with people in their family who didn't feel their feelings before that person showed up. And then you get an empathic person. My nose is itching as I'm saying this. I feel like bewitched, you know, like,
yeah, my nose was doing that earlier.
Yeah. But, yeah. So it's just, having a spiritual community and having a collective that you vibe with is so essential. It's essentially having like your own coven, and like coven can mean so many different things, but it's just like the people who make you feel seen and like understand. And especially recently, I've realized there's a lot of people, we've all gone through a lot of shedding this year. A lot of people are shedding, shedding who they were, shedding what they used to want, shedding people who, you know, they're realizing that energy was just bringing them down. They didn't really feel supported. And so finding people that support you and understand what you're going through, because they're going through it in similar ways. Like the first time I had a psychic really like acknowledge and tell me that I was a psychic, it was this woman named Karen Reese. And she essentially, I was 19 years old, and she was like, you know, you're psycho, right? And she just started laughing. And she was like, psycho, psychic, same thing. That's what they're going to say anyway. No one's going to understand you going forward. Welcome to the community. I'm psycho. And like, she just laughed. And recently I've been thinking about that moment, because I'm like, you know, she was being honest. Like, and like, don't get me wrong, like I feel crazy sometimes, because it's just like I'm having a download, you know, like I'm
right.
Like,
oh, okay. Just give me a minute. Okay, I'm good. Let's go.
Yeah. And so having that community that just also understands that people who are also putting in the work, the people who are also trying to grow, the people who are trying to understand those intuitive feelings, like we all need each other. We all that's the theme of today. We all need each other, because we need each other to like normalize that this is normal, because this is the direction that the world is moving. And then on top of it too, people who are spiritually open, people who are actually healed themselves, like we're like the affordable therapists, you know, like people who are healed ourselves, like we can usually like pull out those traumas a little bit quicker than people who don't understand and haven't done the work. We're going to help you actually heal through your stuff a little bit quicker. So that's why it's also essential of being very careful who you let into your life once you really start kind of moving into this energy, because people know that you're a therapist and they're going to use you for that energy. So it's like you got to pick and choose the people who are getting the free service.
Right.
And then you got to pick and choose the spiritual friends that understand what you're going through, because those people will never dump their energy on you. It's always going to be an even energy exchange.
Right. It's
and
exchange.
Also, like, you know, like you and me, like you're an empath, I'm a psychic, like we can also pull that energy that we're carrying from other people off of each other too. And so that's why it's so crucial to have other people in the same field and in the same energy as you, because they can actually also help you deal with it. And so the person who asked
support
earlier,
system.
the person who asked earlier how to get out of a rut quicker. Honestly, how I get out of ruts quicker that are like very like energy at other people. I call a friend and I'm like, can you help me pull this energy off of me?
Right. Like this isn't my gunk. Can you help me get it clean?
Yeah, but it's also, you have to learn when you're picking up on other people's energy too, because that's another thing. You'll feel psycho sometimes. You're like, what is this energy I'm carrying? And like, if you notice too, especially when you're super empathic, you're the person that the friends are, they'll call you and they'll just keep calling you because they feel better after they talk to you. But they don't realize they're just dumping.
They're dumping and leeching. Yes.
And then they're also sometimes a lot of the times I feel like they're empathic people who haven't got their own empath stuff under control. So they're actually just dumping the energy they picked up from other people. And it's like sometimes you want to ignore their calls because you want them to sit with those feelings a little bit longer, because you're like, I'm not ready for it.
I admit in my early 20s, I had to have someone like point out the fact that a lot of the emotions I was feeling were not my own. I needed to know how to differentiate, because I was literally feeling everybody and didn't realize that like that anger I was feeling wasn't mine. That sorrow I was feeling wasn't mine, until this person was like, brought my attention to it, and then suddenly was like, oh, okay, I need to be more aware instead of just letting it all sink in.
Well, it's also too when you're a kid. Do you have any siblings?
Only child. Well, okay. Here's something for you as far as like, you know, family karma and everything. I hardly talked to my dad's side of the family growing up. I mean, I did some, but like that, there was a big disconnect there. With my mom's side of the family, I was the only child. My mom's the middle child of 3 girls. My grandmother always wanted a boy, but never did. So I was given the name that she would have given her son. So my grandmother basically. And I was raised by those 4 women, basically. And I was the only child.
I imagine you had a very interesting childhood with a lot of emotions that you learn like empathy so quickly. And I kind of so I'm a middle child and I'm one of three sisters. And so when you just described your mom, I was like, oh, is this what my future son is going to be like?
Well, my mom was also the black sheep of the family as well, right? Didn't do what they did. Like Sundays, they would be watching TV on the couch reading newspapers, and she wanted to go like hiking with the neighbors instead, because her family wouldn't do that kind of stuff. So
that was me. I especially being a middle child, you learn that the oldest and the youngest got their own thing going on. So as the middle child, you just find that family with the one single kid, and like all of a sudden you're the golden child in another family. That was the dynamic between my best friend growing up, Crystal, and I. Like, oh man, she was so bratty as like an only child. We talk about this all the time. And then when I stepped in, I was the golden child, just because I had to learn to share from a very young age. And now as adults, like she's such a kind human being, but I was like the sister she didn't want that just started going on vacation with her and all the time. But like, I don't know, it's a fun dynamic, and you learn a lot through like different dynamics of like, I'm a big believer that like, depending on how many siblings you had and stuff, it switches up the energy.
Here's another middle of 3 sisters.
There's something about middle children too, because I feel like middle children, we'll start complaining about like the fairness of something because like we just like see it so quickly because we've experienced it. And like every family dynamic is different. It's like, this isn't like for every family dynamic, but like this is at least like one stereotypical version. And so it's just, we see that unfairness. So I realized I usually meet middle children because one of us is complaining about something not being fair and the other person's like staring at them, and then you like realize like, are you a middle child too? You noticed that that person was doing that thing too. And it's like, there's something to be said about middle children, like thinking and believing like we can be the fairest ones in the room. But all of our siblings would probably disagree. My sisters would disagree with that statement. 1,000%. But, you know, I think there's something to be said. So like generational trauma and stuff. So you were surrounded by women. So you took on a lot of that feminine energy of probably unhealed feminine energy.
I've always just been one of the girls. It's just,
and so, yeah. And so I think it's, you know, like trauma, like when the mom is pregnant and stuff, like trauma is like passed down, like that baby's feeling all your energy for like that whole 9 months. And, you know, I don't know specifically, but I believe when kids are born until the age of 7, they're still kind of crossing over in between like the like spiritual realm and like this realm to like some degree. And so a lot of children, that's why like children specifically, they're afraid of scary things. You know, they feel the energy a little bit more. And I can't say it's going to be for every child, but like I've heard every child gets till about age 7. And so like kids are telepathic. They're just picking up on the trauma that the mom hasn't dealt with. And so when they're born into this world, they're taking that energy from the mom. And then as like young kids, like parents don't realize, and it's nothing against parents. None of us realize how much we project on people, you know, and like projecting on people, like just the energy that we carry. So when these kids who are more empathic are born, you know, they kind of start solving that generational trauma so it doesn't get passed down to the next kid. And so it's kind of cool when like the dynamic of that family changes, because usually that person changing the dynamic, like it's a lot on you. You were the only kid. So like that's a lot on you to listen to like these women's different stories and stuff. But usually like I've noticed that there's like patterns. So like,
well, even worse, my grandma used to pit the 3 sisters against each other.
Narcissism.
And to this day, those 3 sisters can't really like they can't have the 3 of them together.
My mom was telling me the one day, like sometime over the last couple of weeks, she was telling me that my grandmother, like there's actually 4 sisters. I'm like, what do you mean there's 4 sisters? And they're like, the 4th sister won't talk to anyone. And she was like, my mom tried to reach out to her, and my aunt so-and-so tried to reach out to her, and she just won't talk to them. And I was listening to my mom tell me this, like, oh, like this woman, how dare she not talk to her sisters? And when she was finished, I was like, okay, well, why do you think that she might feel like she can't talk to them and be vulnerable with them? Like, obviously, like something like happened. Either she experienced something that was kind of tragic and she felt closed off because she couldn't be vulnerable with her sisters, or like, you know, she did something where she didn't feel supported. Like there's something there. Like people just don't cut people off. Like there's usually a reason for it. But my mom was like so shocked because nobody actually ever gave that one, I guess she'd be my great aunt, credit. And my mom was like, well, I don't know what happened. And I was like, your family's not good about talking about emotions. Like more than likely, like something happened where like she felt they didn't want to understand what she was going through, or she felt that they wouldn't understand her emotions on something, and it was just easier just to not talk to them because of something. Or I mean, she could be a crazy person, be a narcissist, but just because I'm not hearing any stories about her being mean or anything, like there's nothing on that basis, you know. But there's just something to be said that the generational traumas. But even I realized, you know, just like things that like my great aunts went through, and like how it skips generations. And then, you know, like if someone like yo-yos in relationships in a certain way, like it patterns down until somebody actually solves the problem, because it's something isn't being spoken about, or some emotion isn't being dealt with. And that's what like generational trauma is you're not just healing the trauma yourself, you're healing it with and for the other people around you. And
And
so,
for the ancestors.
and for your ancestors, yeah. And then going forward, which is really cool. And I don't know if people really talk about that as much as they really should, because we see that in like everyday life, because, you know, it's like the kid who's mean and abusive. Well, more than likely they had abusive parent, and like in the generations that were there before them, they experienced and saw these things happen. Like people just don't, for the most part, start doing it themselves. Like it's usually something happened to them in order to get them in that mindset of thinking that toxic behavior was okay. And that's why it's such a hard thing to solve, because it's generational.
It's generational. And it's like sometimes they don't even know why.
They don't even know why. And then like it's just, when you start solving those issues too, you start vibrating at a higher frequency. Your family doesn't understand you. There's a lot of sorrow that comes with elevating up in life, you know, and like it's a lot. It's a lot. It's a lot for people.
It's a lot.
That's why you have your whole life to like work through your thing, you know?
Do you use tarot to help with this kind of stuff for yourself and others?
Yeah. So I think around the time when I was 21, I had a really good friend who I had met from like the swim team in like middle school and high school. And I had known her for a very long time. And another friend of mine who I'm like so in sync with, I like literally can finish her sentences and her stories because I literally can just hear her like thoughts. So it's been a work in progress. She's married and has 3 kids, and I've ruined every single pregnancy announcement. Like she just can't keep anything from me. She's that good of a friend. Like we're just too in tune. But I remember we went to the Olive Garden, as you do when you're 21 years old. And or if you live in like upstate New York, like we did.
Right.
But we went to the Olive Garden, and she was telling me she had got this really accurate psychic reading. And like, I just kept finishing her sentence of the psychic reading. And then she let me know it was this girl in high school that we knew. So I just went home and called up Sam, because I was like, I love Sam. Like, I didn't know she was a tarot card reader. Like, awesome, like fantastic. And Sam at the time, she was 20 years old, and she was working at a hospital, and she had slipped and fell and hurt her back. And she had like really bad like back damage. So I actually got really good at reading tarot cards, because for an entire year I would go to her house, and like, you know, she was basically bedridden. Like, you know, sometimes we'd go shopping together, we would hang out, but we really just like would read cards and just like hang out and like have seances and all of these things. And at the time I was also in conjunction with going through a breakup. So like, it's just like, as a 21-year-old girl, like, what do you want to know about? It's just like, when are we getting back together? And like, it's not even about being 21. We do this all the time. We go through things. And it's just because naturally that's like what your mind thinks is it just wants the familiar, even though the familiar is not a positive thing. But, you know, so I definitely 1000%. And even, you know, I have a couple different psychic, I have a couple of friends who would call me for like readings anytime they're going through something, even though no one listens to what I say, because when it's just coming from your friend, you know. But it's also about, they have to process it. They still have to experience whatever they're going through. They have to go through it. And now I'm doing it more just for like psychics, just honing in and reading, because there's something magical about being able to call each other out when you're like acting up on things. It's like, honey, I think you're taking a little bit too much on this topic because you're feeling vulnerable and blah, 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 blah. And so it's kind of more fun when you're doing it with a psychic to, you know, actually like process things you're going through, because I love when people are honest, you know. And maybe it's like my middle childism, like I just always got constructive criticism. And then also just like I have 2 art degrees, like constructive criticism, art student in college. Like they'll tell you your work is crap, they'll rip it up in front of you. I don't know if they'll do that anymore, just because people are so happy. But like, there's something to be said about experiencing those moments of like being able to take constructive criticism. And so now, like reading, I'd rather not read myself, because you're not really supposed to read yourself, only because you're so biased. You're going to interpret it the way you want it. Like if this person's being mean to you, you're going to be like, that person is being mean to me. Like, no matter, like, look at the sun card and you'll be like, see, I'm right. And like, people are.
That's why I like a group setting where everyone's doing their own reading for themselves, but we're doing it together. So everyone can chime in.
Yeah. And like, to learn tarot cards, read yourself, read every aspect of yourself, because one day it's going to click. The way you're interpreting it is not what it means. But when you're like reading like the actual definitions and it's like calling you out and you're like, oh, the cards are actually just calling me out, and you have that epiphany, that's when you're really going to understand things. But like also I just think that the feeling of like going through a breakup, the feeling of tragedy, like all those moments, those are the moments when we can grow the most. So we hone in on things. So like those are the best times to like pick up your cards and like overread and then be like, I'm overreading. I'm not taking the advice I give other people. Like you grow so much in those moments, but it's, you know.
Well, and also when you're 20 something giving yourself a reading, you don't have all the life experience really to like engage every card that pops up, because you might not have had that experience yet. Right. So I think the older you are and the more experience you have, the more the cards kind of open for you in a big way.
Yeah.
So
1000%. And it's also just because when you're younger, like I don't think people under 18 should be read. I think y'all, like all those people need to just feel their feelings and like go through their things, because they're taking on so much energy of the kids they're in school with. They're taking on the energy of their families. They're taking the energy of they're not in their own. The best people to read are never the people you actually get to read, but like the best people to read are people who are just really in their own energy, and you can just talk about like their experiences and like what they're going through. And like tarot cards can be like super healing because they can bring out your insecurities quicker and make you essentially make it so you have to process them quicker.
Right.
Which is a really, really beautiful thing. And I one of my like closest friends, her sister's in town. And so I gave her a tarot card reading, and it's just funny because I didn't really know her sister, but the things that I brought up, she's engaged, and her significant other have both experienced a very similar tragedy. They both lost their dads when they were very young. So what a glorious thing to actually end up with a partner who you end up trauma bonding over, and you have more in common, and you really understand each other's emotions. Like what a beautiful, beautiful like celebration like that wedding is going to be, with like that energy. But in that moment, it was just like I could see, I'm like, wow, your significant other is very emotionally healed. You, my dear, you need to meditate out and realize that you have more to process it. And I could feel it on my heart. I was like, my heart is just so heavy. You are still carrying that burden. You are still carrying that weight. You are still like carrying like way too much. Like you just need to let that go. And, you know, once you start like reading that, I saw her a couple days later, and it was a really beautiful thing, because then I saw my friend's husband, and he was like, oh, like so-and-so is saying that like you gave her a really good reading and she's tripping out still. And I was like, oh yeah, she's processing her feelings about it. And like, I was like, man, it was too heavy on my heart. Like, I can't even imagine like what it felt like on hers if I was taking only like a partial of that energy.
Right.
And so when I saw her, like she was still processing, and it was like a really beautiful thing, because when you can see people having those aha moments, and you can see them like really just like, oh my God, like I thought this way, but like now, like, wow, like my mind is expanding, and you can feel that shift in energy, especially like empathically. And I know, you know this, Jonathan, like you have to feel it with like the acupuncture, like that stress relieving off people's bodies, even like,
oh yeah,
even have to be in words. It's just the energy shift. It's a really beautiful thing. And that's
I
why
have to shake it off after usually.
And she ended up telling me, she's like, will you come to my wedding and read tarot cards? And I was like, what? And she was like, I just been telling my husband, like, did you know I really didn't process my dad's death? And he was like, yeah, I've realized this. And she was just, you know, still processing and explaining it to me. And in that moment, I actually got really excited, because I was like, oh, something that would have taken you years to process, we're going to have processed before you even go home back to your husband. And like, damn, like this is really going to just feel like really good. You're going to feel deeper in the commitment. You're going to feel deeper in the relationship. You're going to understand each other a little bit more. And especially because he was already aware and just waiting for you to figure it out on your own, but he already loves you and is already there for you. He was there for like the journey of this, but now the journey of this is going to be like over in the next like week or two, because she had such an epiphany. And I got really excited in that moment, because I was just like, I helped you process this like very quickly. You're welcome. Like, like, yeah, like, thank you for letting me know. Like, it really like hit. And it's just like a beautiful thing, because we she's actually in town because we're all going to Burning Man together. And like if there's a meditative place to go meditate that energy away, like it is at the temple at Burning Man. And like
Right.
that experience is gonna like just like she's gonna be able to meditate all of that out and then go back to her husband, and it's really gonna be a beautiful, beautiful thing.
Hmm.
It's like I don't
Yeah,
even
it's
get
amazing when those kind of readings happen. I had a
uh,
someone I was reading for who, when the reading was over, she thanked me. She's like, you know what? I don't care what anyone out there says. Pro is the thing because you helped me process more than like 6 months with a counselor would have done. I'm like, who,
yeah.
me? Wow. Okay. Thank you. And it just was like, oh, wow. Okay.
And
I was there to just help you process. So,
you probably get
um,
this a lot, especially just because also being an acupuncturist. So when you do readings and when you do acupuncture, you get to be in the moment where there's like some release happening, but you don't
mhm,
get to enjoy like the beauty of the moment where they really have that like aha normally, where all of a sudden they're like,
right.
oh, my neck feels so much better. Like, oh my God, my like circulation is feeling great. Like my back
Mhm,
no longer hurts. Like it's the same thing in tarot card readings and like energy exchanges. We don't
right.
get that celebration always. We just get the like them like skeptically wondering if it's going to help them or not because they're like still processing, especially when you're helping out a stranger. Helping out your friends, you can kind of see it like because you're with them the whole journey. But like
Mhm,
normally like clients, you don't get to see that evolution where they feel good. And so
right.
it's just like it's really a gift when you do get to see it. And it's like a gift when you get to like actually experience and like watch it like unravel because it's very a rare thing for us. And so it's just
It
we
is rare, right?
yeah.
I did a reading for my husband's niece, my niece too. But for her husband, I did a reading, and like he was skeptical, and they were both just like, "What? I don't know. Like this doesn't make sense. I don't know. This reading's kind of like what?" And a year later, she comes up to me and she's like, "Every single thing you said in that reading came true over the last year. Everything." I'm like, "Well, I mean, that's why we did the reading, right?" She's like, but I'm like, well, this was like getting you prepared to go through the motion because I knew that like the reading was basically saying that he was going to lose his job, he's going to go through a little hard time, but it's going to be okay in the end. He's going to get something better, and that's exactly what happened. So, and they're like, wait, this stuff's real. I'm like, well, yeah. I mean, why else would I do it?
Ugh. It's
like,
nice when
yeah.
you get those moments too, because it means a lot when it's the bigger skeptics. But the biggest
Mhm,
skeptics with ourselves are usually like our families and the people who are very close to us.
right.
And like even friends, there's certain friends that I know I just don't really talk about tarot card stuff with.
Right.
And like, I mean, we all have that also like one religious friend who's like praying for us, as well.
Mhm.
But I love her. I love her so much. But we just know I'm not gonna say something and she's just not gonna say something, but there's still like that support, which is like kind of cool. But it is really nice when you get to hear that like it came full
That
circle and like you helped someone. And
validation, I guess, would be a good word for it.
yeah, just like
Mhm.
because you don't always get that validation. And like
Mhm.
validation, it's not like an ego thing. We all need validation. Our inner children are us. We are our inner children. Like who doesn't want a gold star sticker? Who doesn't want like that pat on the back? So like the more that we have to do it to ourselves. Like you got to look in the mirror, you got to pat yourself on the back in the mirror, you got to
Mhm.
tell yourself good job. You got to get yourself that lollipop or that like donut when you want it. Like you have to
Right.
like really like make your inner child happy, but like also like our inner children need to make other inner children happy too. Like
Mhm.
we need to remind people like, wow, like you're doing a great job. Like I'm proud of you, like it was scary. It was
Right.
scary for you to do that reading for that person. It was scary because you didn't know what they were thinking the whole time. You don't know if they enjoyed it or not.
Mhm.
Like it was scary putting your energy out there because you're also exposing your own energy to that person. You're just as vulnerable as they
It's
are
a
and they don't even
vulnerable thing to
realize it.
give and receive a reading for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and like it's vulnerable for us too. That's why it's just
Mhm.
like and like it's also scary being like a full-time witch, Like I was telling you, like we need other people being like, it is so cool that you're a witch because the other person I really got saying that to me right now is like a 9-year-old girl. And like she thinks
Well,
I'm a
it's so
cool like
cool that you're a
ma'am,
full-time witch.
But like really, like it's fun when like your friends like who are also adults, because like I don't know, I still feel like a kid even though I'm an adult. Like at what point do we feel like adults? Like
Never. There's
yeah,
no such thing as being an adult, truly.
and it's just like everything else is going to be there. We all stress over things. We stress over a lot of things, but like at the end of the day, it's just like working through like that feeling of scarcity, working through that feeling of just being able to radiate in your own energy.
Thanks, Maruta. She says
Oh,
that she posted your channel link on her Facebook Tarot fan club page.
thank
Right?
you
It was
so
lovely to
much.
meet
That's so
you, and she'll
nice.
come back to watch it. So, oh yeah, I guess we've been over an hour. So, one quick question for you:
Yeah.
what is your tarot deck of choice in the moment, right now? What
Ooh,
are you working
okay.
with?
I had them next to me just in case, like the moment arrived. Um, but so this deck I've been using for over 10 years. And then I have another deck that it's the same exact deck. It's the same exact deck. And
Mhm.
the other deck I think is like maybe 15 plus years old. It's really, really beat up. But this
Okay.
is Zerner and Farber editions.
Yes,
And so it's actually
the Enchanted
specifically
Tarot, right?
it's specifically a love deck. And so
Mhm.
like I'm very love based energy. Like my energy radiates love. Like I mean I feel like I can try to pull love out of almost like any human being in the room, but like I really like this deck. It's just very, very beautiful. The Queen of
Right.
Wands is my favorite card in the deck. Like it just yeah, this is probably the deck even going forward. And I mean, I probably have like 15 decks, but like this is the deck that I always
That's
use. That's
your
my
deck that you use, right? That's
yeah.
your main deck.
And even like other readers and stuff, like they've touched this deck before. And like my one friend, he was like, "Oh my God, there's so much energy in this." Like his cards, like he didn't even have to shuffle, they'll just pop out. Like me in this
Right.
deck, like right now, like this is my familiar. This is like my like safe space. Like we have a lot of trust in this deck.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
My current love affair has been with the Tarot of Echoes. I
Oh,
cannot
those are
get
very
enough of this
beautiful.
deck. Yeah. Um, the indie version's already out of print, even though it just came out this year.
Uh-huh.
But US Games is coming out with the mass market version.
Okay.
These are the backs. Yeah.
Oh, the lotuses are beautiful.
I just absolutely love Anna Turing's artwork.
Yeah.
It's,
He's
you
like
know,
I view illustrators as like the real artistic people, and like those are clearly like hand done illustrations that are just beautiful.
pen and watercolor. That's what she does. I love
Very
this tower card. It just, you know, that's the Empress,
oh, interesting. Honestly, good for her. She made the Empress like the universe is a female. Like let's be real.
right? The Great Mother. And I love this. This is the Death card.
That's a really beautiful version of rebirth.
Mhm. So I love this Three of Swords finally rising out of the water, right? So yeah, this has been my deck that I've been using quite a bit.
That's beautiful.
Like since I got it, it's been like the main one I reach for. I
I feel like
have way
blues and
too many
greens.
decks, and I need to purge them because I'm like at like 700, I think.
Yeah, it's hard. You got to find a little kid that really wants to learn and like be like, "This is your time, kid."
Hmm.
But it'll be good.
Yes, Patrice loves that throwback as well. All right. Can you right, Patrice? It's so hard to put down. Once I started using it, like I don't it's like I have so many decks and that's one I keep reaching for. So thanks, Hershey. And it's just I don't know, there's just something about reading with it that's really easy for me. But I've been using this, the Oracle of Echoes, for years, and this is a second edition. And so I've been looking forward to the tarot that matches. And I think that's why I just like fell in love with tarot so hard because this is my number one Oracle deck of all time.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah.
Very, very
You can
cool.
tell by the box being all ripped up.
I used to keep my tarot cards in a Crown Royal bag because I worked at a restaurant and they just had endless amounts of Crown Royal bags. But
Hmm.
I had a friend along the way. I've had friends knit me bags or crochet me bags, and I've had friends get me bags now. So now they're
Right.
all in like actual bags, but there was something.
I
You said
don't
about
know
the
what
bamboo
happened to me. I
berries.
used bags and then I stopped using bags.
It's all
I just
personal preference.
I had to keep them in
But
boxes. I mean, that's,
I'm very impressed with the people who can keep the boxes nice. You know, I'm just not one of those people. Like something bad is going to happen to that box. Like
oh,
it's going
there's a
to
few decks that I lost the box because it finally fell apart.
oh,
But that's okay. And then another one that I've been really loving is the mini version of the Tarot of Oneness.
very cool.
Because it's mini and will fit on top of any other deck I'm using. So it's like a great way.
Well, it's also like perfect. It's going to fit into your pocket. It's a very thick deck, but it'll fit in your pocket.
This is.
I love that the colors on those make me happy.
This deck is definitely one of my top 5, I gotta say. The Tarot of Oneness is an amazing, amazing deck. I can't say much about it. But those are my current workhorses. I am doing a little special for my wearable crystal grids, if anyone's interested.
I was actually admiring that.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I made it. It's lapis lazuli, chevron, amethyst, pearls. I forget what's in the little clumps up here. But it's Dracorvid's Treasures on Etsy. There's also a link in my link tree, which is down below. And I use the word aloha for 30% off. So, and there's my email in case anyone's interested in joining me. Or I am also setting up a past life healing program. So if you're interested in possibly joining, please email me. I am starting a list of people to email once everything's pulled together and the course is ready to go live. So,
that's going to be really beautiful. Really beautiful.
You.
I feel that energy. It feels really good.
It's been something that I've always wanted to work with. I mean, right before the pandemic hit, I was deciding to combine past life regression with my acupuncture. And I use gold needles, and it's been amazing. The people who've had the I call it AcuPLR, right? PLR for past life regression and acupuncture aided past life regression. It's been amazing because people have really, like, it's not just a snippet of their life. They pretty much remember almost the whole thing. And a good chunk of them come back with the name, which has been like mind blowing for me.
Beautiful.
So, I mean, I get chills just talking about it.
Yeah.
Right. And I feel like this is something that I'm here for, is to help people heal those old past life patterns that are interfering with your life now. But also, let's go back in the past lives too and see what skills and talents you've been honing over many lifetimes. Let's dive into that a little more. Let's bring some of that knowledge back with you so you can be even better at that skill or talent. Right? So I feel like there's so much untapped potential in our past lives that everyone kind of ignores the past life thing, or they talk about it, but they don't really do anything about it. And I feel like it's time to start working with the past lives. Heal the negative patterns that we picked up because of some negative thing that happened to us in the past life, so we can finally release it, live our best life. Well, let's do a little more. Let's pull in the energy of our past lives. Many of our spirit guides are our past lives, so let's tap into that. You know, that's kind of what I'm really excited about for this. So.
There's someone I'm going to share with you after we're off this call.
Okay.
I feel like you really need to connect with. He started doing like a deep meditation into like past life regression. But he specifically is asking their higher self, like, can you help heal this? And I feel like the two of you, like, first of all, you should definitely bring him on this channel, but I feel like the two of you, like, there's a collaboration there, and that would be like a really beautiful energy.
That sounds cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. Do you have any programs or classes or anything like that coming up?
Yeah, I have. So if you go to my website, which is moonfoxmagic.com, under the events page, under the events page, I have a psychic Cameron that I am pairing up with. We're doing Witching Hour Wednesdays, where we talk about things, normalizing things that psychics and empaths and healers all go through. Just, just to normalize things and make everyone know, like, make sure everyone knows, like, we're not alone and we're experiencing similar things, and how to release some of that energy that we're picking up. And then also in September, it's not up there yet, but I'm going to be posting, I'm doing a Trinity healing class. We're going to do mediumship, psychic readings, and then we also have a Reiki healer. And it's just going to be I think we're going to do a 2.5-hour Zoom class with a 15-minute break in between, but we're going to do different healings and help people process through things. And so,
well, if you need a past life regressionist.
yes, actually, no, definitely. I think we should definitely discuss.
Okay.
1,000%.
Yeah.
Because
cool.
Why not?
Right. I've done group past life regressions too. And it's funny because I noticed that a lot of times in group past life regressions, like this one time, this yoga teacher brought her mom. The yoga teacher was like totally into it, ready to have a past life like experience, and she fell asleep. Her mom comes, wasn't expecting anything, was just there to like, because her daughter insisted. And she has this profound past life experience where she realized she's her own grandmother reincarnated. So,
that's really, really cool. I'm getting chills as like you're saying that. That's really, really cool. And there's something to be said about that too, because we don't always know, but like there's certain people we're drawn to in this life that we're living, because these are people that we're repeating different lives with, and there's something to be said about that, So that would be really cool. And I'm curious, because I actually I've had like auto writing about past lives before from like, I know a couple auto writers, but I haven't actually done a past life regression, and my dad and I have matching birthmarks in the same exact spot. And so it's just like, I know that like me and him are like the same spirit line, but it's like, I've kind of been wondering, I'm like, was he my kid in my past life? Like, what was he, And so there's something just kind of there that's just, and my dad would be totally freaked out by it, but like at the same time too, because he loves me. So okay, Molly. Okay.
Right. Yeah, well, and sometimes when you do a past life regression, you realize why your best friend's your best friend, because it's partially them paying off karmic debt for being like a bastard to you.
Yeah.
So
1,000%.
Right. And so it's interesting the things that you pick up about, like, even in this life relationships, because it's an echo of something that happened. Right? And we've signed these contracts with our soul tribe, basically. And we're just reliving different lives with the same group of souls as we're all progressing and playing roles in each other's lives.
I heard that in like the spirit realm, like all of our higher selves are like basically looking into like this channel, like this earth plane that we're living on. And they're just like, what a bunch of drama kids. Like, what the heck? Like they're on a stage and they're acting, and they don't even realize how much in control they are of like their lives right now, or like how much push and pull they actually have. And like, they're just like, come on, like, get over yourselves, people. Like, this life isn't even that bad. You made it through much worse. Like, you're good. Like, come on, And so I don't know, you got to find the comedy in it. And like,
well, that's the thing that I've come to realize after all my years of like esoteric like studies and everything, is the universe has a wicked sense of humor. And I mean wicked sense of humor.
It does.
Some things that happen to us, we look back at, like, in the moment it's horrible, but then we look back and it's just like, how did that ridiculous thing ever happen?
1,000%. 1,000%. I don't know,
well, thank you so much for joining me today, Molly. This has been a great conversation, and thank you, the best chatters that were here, and thank you for watching the playback. If you're watching the playback, don't forget to subscribe to Molly. The link's down below, and please come back, comment, throw in any questions that you have for Molly, because I'm sure she can see when the questions are there and she can come answer. And don't forget to subscribe to her channel. Thank you so much. And next week, let's see, I think I have an interview on Tuesday. I need to double check that. But on Thursday, I'm actually going to be over on Linda de Gonzalez's channel for reading. And we are doing select readings, actually. So come join us over at Linda's, and I guess we'll see you next Thursday if I don't see you sooner, or see you in chat. So anything else you want to say before we get going, Mom?
Yeah, just throw some positive energy to Jonathan's collective for taking some time out of his day to put this together for all of us, you know? And that's all I
Thank
have
you
to
so
say.
much.
Yeah, of course.
Thank you for being here. And thank you for being here. Until next time, aloha and uiho.